Hello everyone, this is Geethanjali. In this class, we'll be starting with principle of inheritance. So let us first understand the basics of genetics. So what is inheritance? Inheritance is nothing but the process in which characters like height, okay, uh, skin color, etc. get transferred from the parent to the progeny. Okay, so this is called inheritance. Okay, whereas what is variation? Variation is the degree by which the progeny or the offspring differs from their parent. Okay, that is the deviation of the progeny from the parent in its characters, right? So why is this seen? This is seen mainly due to two reasons. Okay, first is recombination, that is crossing over that happens while the formation of gametes, and also mutation. So we know that mutation changes the gene, right? So because of that too, we can see variation. Now, an important person over here who's called the father of genetics, that is Gregor Mendel. Okay, so Gregor Mendel, he's famous for performing experiments for 7 years. Okay, that is from 1856 to 1863. So basically, in his monastery, in his garden, he performed experiments for 7 years on the plant Pisum sativum. So we know this is a pea plant, Pisum sativum, and he really succeeded in it. So, what were the reasons for his success? So, let us see. First, he used statistics and maths, okay, to work out his findings. And also, he used a large sampling size so that he can get a greater credibility. So, as it's large, it can be applied to a population too. And later, also, his findings were confirmed by successive generations. So they performed the same experiments, and they found out that definitely what he has proposed in his principles is definitely true. Now, as I told you, he used Pisum sativum for all his experiments. Let us see the main characters that he used for his experiments. So he basically took 7 contrasting characters. Okay, when someone asks you how many characters he took, you should say 7. Whereas how many traits, then there are 14 traits. Okay, so you can see, we know that character is a feature of an organism, whereas trait is a form of character, it's a version. So we can understand this with a simple analogy. So we have character here, right? And then we have the different types of characters and we call them traits. Okay? So like this only, we can use this analogy that the character somehow represents the gene. Okay? And the different versions of genes is nothing but the alleles. Okay? So you see, character is to gene, whereas traits is to alleles. Okay. Now, what do I mean by dominant? So there are usually two alleles present. Okay. So in these two alleles, either both can be dominant, either both can be dominant. Okay. Or both can be recessive, or either one of them can be dominant, or other one can be recessive. Okay, in such cases, see, in this case, the dominant trait is expressed, okay, and in this case, the recessive trait is expressed. In this case, still the dominant trait is expressed. So that is why we call this dominant trait. Okay, now you can see he took 7 characters here, and it's important to know which is dominant and which is recessive, right? So they might give you 3 of the recessive traits and 1 dominant, and ask us to choose the odd one out and all that. So this table is important. So these were some basic points of genetics.